The hospital corridor echoed with the hurried steps of nurses and the distant hum of machines. A 76-year-old man lay on a hospital bed, his frail chest rising and falling under the steady rhythm of the ventilator. His name was Mr. Elias, a man whose presence seemed to exude wisdom but now bore the weight of his years. Earlier that day, Elias had collapsed in his garden, clutching his chest as he gasped for air. Neighbors rushed to his aid, and within minutes, an ambulance whisked him away to the hospital. The doctors worked tirelessly, stabilizing him, reconnecting him to life with oxygen flowing through clear tubes. Hours passed, and finally, Elias stirred awake, weak but alive. Dr. Matthews, the attending physician, entered the room with a smile of relief. "You gave us quite the scare, Mr. Elias," he said gently. Elias nodded, his lips curling into a faint smile. "We've finalized the discharge papers," said Dr. Matthews, flipped through the pages, and then handed Elias the hospital bill. It was a staggering $500,000. Elias stared at the paper, his hands trembling as he read the amount. Then, without warning, tears began streaming down his weathered face, a sound that carried both gratitude and sorrow. Dr. Matthews placed a comforting hand on his arm. "Mr. Elias," he said softly, "please don't cry. We can discuss payment options. You don't have to feel burdened by this." Elias shook his head and managed to speak through his tears. "I'm not crying because of the money, doctor," he whispered, his voice cracking with emotion. "I can pay this bill. Every cent of it." Dr. Matthews furrowed his brow in confusion. "Then why are you crying?" Elias looked up, his tear-streaked face glowing with a mix of humility and awe. "I'm crying because this bill is for 24 hours of oxygen. Just one day, and it costs $500,000. For 76 years, I have been breathing the air of God for free. Do you know how much I owe him?" The room fell silent. Dr. Matthews stared at the man, the weight of his words settling in his heart like a stone. He lowered his head, unable to meet Elias's gaze, and to his own surprise, he began to cry. The tears rolled down his face silently, humbling him in a way no medical textbook ever could. In that moment, the sterile hospital room transformed. It became a place not just of healing, but of profound realization. The cost of life, the value of gratitude, and the unseen blessings that so often go unnoticed were all laid bare. Elias wiped his tears and smiled faintly. "Doctor," he said, his voice steady now, "we owe him everything, not just for the air we breathe, but for every heartbeat, every sunrise, every moment." Dr. Matthews nodded, his voice caught in his throat. "You're right, Mr. Elias," he whispered. "You're absolutely right.